Hello and welcome to the Warhammer Podcast, episode 28. I'm your host, Brad. This is my co-host, Eric.
How's it going?
We've got a big episode for you guys this week. So earlier this week for us, last week for you guys, GW put up a post talking about new organized play packets that are heading out to local game stores globally.
Yeah, the title was exciting. Win glory and prizes in this year's season of Warhammer 40,000 organized play.
You're so fucking lame.
Wow, the hype. The true hype.
So these packets are actually very interesting, though, like, jokes aside. It looks like you have 32 people worth of secondary objective decks, more or less.
Yeah, the cards for the secondary objective.
You've got a bunch of, like, paper trophies for people for weekly tournaments or whatever. And then it looks like they've got, like, a store champion, like, little glass trophy that's very nice looking, that I'm assuming there's only one per box, and I guess like once per season they'll hand that out at whatever your store's biggest tournament is.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, it's almost certainly not glass looking at it, but it doesn't look bad, so it's kind of neat.
It's clear plastic, you get what I mean.
Yeah, it's neat. And they also said that they've got like trophies for painters, so like there'll be something to give out as like an award for like, oh, you have the coolest painted army, which I like that. You know, it's not just who won that week. There's also the whole, like, you did good at the hobby side of this, which is cool.
There's the whole other angle, though. We looked at the list of stores that were getting these, and I specifically checked ones that were in our area.
It's fucking everyone.
It's not literally everybody, but it's basically anybody who has a generic local game store layout.
Yeah.
My problem with this list was, like, I've been to a lot of these shops, and at least in our area, within like 50 miles, all the shops I've been to, I can't see any of them hosting a quote-unquote tournament in their store.
None of them could support 32 players.
Most of them have like 2 to 4 tables big enough to even play Warhammer on, if they're even dedicated at all.
Yeah, and then like they could probably put together 1 or 2 more by shoving stuff aside kind of thing.
Yeah, I have trouble seeing some of the stores on the list hosting tournaments. I don't know if they just sent this to everybody who buys like X amount of product, but I don't know if your store being on the list actually means it will be easy for you to get a tournament going there.
That's my issue. I just don't see this really incentivizing tournaments. I could see it incentivizing a bit more play, where like, you know, on a Thursday night 4 people get together at a store. Cool.
Yeah, or just Saturday all day.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. But given that they're like trying to push this as like a way to host tournaments and stuff like that, the logistics by store floor space just don't really make sense to me.
At least locally. It may not be the case near you, but just near us, that was the case. And I'm going to assume it's pretty representative.
But at the same time, like, we live in like Metro Detroit area, so like it's not like we're in the middle of a highly dense city or we're in the middle of fucking nowhere. So like I can't imagine that a bunch of European country cities are going to have large areas that they can play 32 people, right? Like they'd have to rent a place.
I'm not even asking for 32 people. Let's say 12, 16.
Top 8.
8 only takes 4 tables. I think about all but 3 of the stores that we were familiar with could do an 8-player tournament, which is fine.
Yeah, no, like, then that's the thing is, like, I have mixed feelings on this, because in one way I'm like, yeah, 8 people getting together and playing is cool. That's not a bad thing. But at the same time, like, putting this as organized play in like a tournament aspect seems disingenuous, just because I see it being very difficult to put together enough numbers to actually put together a tournament, to get results, to get a winner that you can give that little plaque.
I don't fully agree with you, because coming from the Magic side of things, I would be perfectly happy if tournament, in air quotes here, was the bare bones 8 people getting together on a Saturday, playing 3 rounds and going home. Like, that is a tournament, and that is organized play. It is organized play. it hits everything vocabulary-wise.
Yes, technically.
And I don't have a problem with that.
I don't really have a problem with it either. I just don't think it makes sense to push it as like a big thing. Like, this is actual organized play. You're getting by on like a technicality. Like, yeah, technically it's enough to host a tournament. Technically, because it's organized play. But is it really?
I think they have to advertise it this not self-aware. I don't know how to say it. They have to advertise it this way because if they do it low-key, they won't get the turnout. The whole point of this is they have to oversell so that you get the bare bones 8 people showing up and start having weekly events. Things that are common in Magic communities or other games, but Warhammer does not occur because the game is not made for any type of tournament structure whatsoever. It's definitely not made for large tournaments.
No. Not even close.
But the game has enough trouble where it just needs to get over the first hump. If we get to a point where there is a Friday Night Magic equivalent in 40K, where it's like Saturday your local store has 8 people showing up to play, and then people see it, want to play the game, and it works for them from GW's standpoint. That's what it's for, really, is to get a base level, that Friday Night Magic, lowest possible level of organized play running. We're not talking about, like, you come from the grinder end of Magic, which is, like, not feasible in Warhammer.
No, it's not even close. Like, it just logistically, it's impossible. There's not enough floor space in any of the places.
Yeah, you can't have every week, all across North America, 1,200 people tournaments. It doesn't work in this game. It's not made to play 15 rounds, best of 3.
Yeah, so many issues that's just not possible.
So you have to look at it as this is organized play within what this game can do. Like, you can't look for an equivalent in a game that you've played before that is way different in structure.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Now, there is the other argument. This one I will support you on, which is this is an organized play packet for your local game store.
Yeah.
What would you expect a packet required for tournament play to include?
Rules.
Yeah. And possibly, software so that you can host a tournament and post your results, post matchups, stuff that even Wizards of the Coast, the most Amish version of a game company ever to exist, who don't even know electricity exists, managed to get a barely functional program that you can use to post tournament rounds and results and record everything. GW doesn't have any of that. They don't give this support to stores. It's a pain in the ass. Like, you need to lower the barrier to entry for the one organizing the tournament so that it will occur in the first place, so that they'll want to get people in to buy product.
I agree with you. It's one of those that, like, there's so many issues that I see with this. Like, I'm trying to be happy because, like, it's not bad, right? Like, this news is not bad news. Is good news. They're giving away stuff. They're trying to grow tournament scene. They're trying to have more people play. It's just like, it feels so half-assed. Like, they didn't actually expect it to work. Like you said, if you're not going to support the organizers by giving them the software that they need, giving them, rules so that they can actually pay attention.
Like, there's no equivalent to, like, in Magic, we have the judge program with judges.
Yeah.
If you have 2 people having an issue at any Magic event, all they have to do is raise their hand and say judge. And it is that simple in Magic. Raise your hand, you go, judge!
And it's, like, expected. If you have a question, do it. Raise a hand, say judge.
Person walks over who will help you, who knows the rules, who has access to the rules, who can check everything, has access to a community of other judges that at worst they can message and go, here is the issue we're having. I can't find the ruling real quick. Can anyone help?
Yeah.
You have a network of people across the world helping at your random local game stores Friday night. That's amazing.
But at the end of the day, you still have somebody that you can point to and be like, we're going to listen to that person because they're supposed to know what they're talking about. And you get a hard answer instead of people just being like, I don't know, I think it's this way. I think it's that way.
Especially because, like, I know my local stores. I know a lot of them. You can't assume, like, with Magic, if someone is selling Magic cards and is hosting a Magic event, I know there is a local judge. There's always a local judge because Magic players are obnoxious humans and will go get a judge certification because it makes them feel smart.
Yeah.
there will always be a local judge. You can't assume that your tournament organizer in 40K at this low of a scale, I'm not talking about in real tournaments, but when we're talking about local game stores, you cannot assume that the local game store owner, who is the tournament organizer in this case, knows the rules or can help with rules arguments.
And that's fine if it's just fun match play where you're just getting together, just having some fun. But we've added this little bit of extra motivation. We've added these trophies. We've added, honestly, there's a chance to win a trip to the Grand Narrative event paid.
Oh boy. I'm sure it's hosted in somewhere in Alaska or something.
Yeah, or it's Vegas in July.
The Magic Special.
Yeah. So it's one of those that, like, once you start adding external motivations to winning, even if they're basically nothing, it's a piece of paper, people become weird and they become angle shooters, I want to say.
I don't think it's that people become weird. I think it's that you attract weird people.
Sure, maybe that's the thing. So it's one of those that, like, when you have that type of scenario and you have likely a tournament organizer that doesn't know all of the codex rules for every faction and sub-faction and ruling and stuff like that, it can probably lead to some pretty bad experiences. Which, I mean, it's one of those that, like, I'm thinking of all of these negatives, but at the end of the day, it's like, but this is supposed to be something cool. This is supposed to be, like, they're trying to help support, you know, the tournament scene, organized play. They're adding stuff. It should be cool. It should be good, right? And I just keep thinking of all of the negative possibilities that are going to arise from it.
Or not even just the negative possibilities. You're thinking of all the ways that the execution could have been easily improved.
Yeah. One of the things that I liked with Magic was when they gave randomly cards to participants, essentially.
Yes. Door prizes for getting the, and in reality, as adults on the back end, not the kids who are getting these.
Yeah.
It's to the store owner's discretion on who to give these to, and usually you give them to the new kid who shows up for the first time, the very casual one who's coming out of their room for the first time in forever. You get them out there having fun. You give them a door prize. They're very happy. And it worked on us when we were young. It's great.
Like, it doesn't have to be actually random. Like, taking advantage of growing the community by giving a new player something is cool. They could have easily have done something like that. Like, you just give away a fucking Space Marine. It's just like a pre-assembled or some little sprue. It's like $2. Whatever, dude.
A generic Space Marine lieutenant, the most overused every promo thing ever anyway. No one needs a Space Marine lieutenant.
No, and nobody that's, like, entrenched in the Warhammer is going to be like, oh, I have to go to get that Space Marine lieutenant. It's going to be like, okay, cool, I guess I got one. Or you're going to have somebody that's new that's like, oh, I got something. I have a model. That's really cool. This was fun. I'm going to come back next week.
An alternative is, like, not even that, but, like, something small like objective marker, like a metal coin, you know, like an equivalent like that.
They've got the secondary objective cards, so I guess they can give those away. It's like a collectible.
That's my other question, though. So time out. They're like 32 players worth of secondary objective cards.
Yeah.
Are we turning them back in at the end of the night? Are we going to have issues where next week someone lost one this week because it got slid under a playmat, or, you know, someone kicked it on the floor and then it got swept up and we never saw it again, so now you can't...
Yeah. Or, like, you got it and you didn't know you were supposed to bring it back to play next time because it was like, well, these are mine now. I'm going to put them with my little collection and on my bookshelf.
Which is also awkward because, to be honest, the secondary objective cards here that they're showing, like, you get to use these in these tournaments. I'm like, I want to buy these so I can take them home and use them at home.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't these also on sale?
Yeah.
Again, we're being overly negative because, again, we look at this from the organizational standpoint. We're looking at it from the business standpoint. We're seeing ways things can be improved on. It is still genuinely good news.
Yeah.
It is a step in the right direction. We want more. This is great step one. It's going to be a great first attempt. Things are going to be horribly wrong. We've already listed things that we haven't seen this yet, but we already know will go wrong, and we need to see that they're working on it.
My biggest thing is I would like to see more push to having new players into the organized play, as opposed to like right now, you can't play if you don't have an army.
I can't argue that too much.
I get it, but like it would be nice if they had something to help motivate new players to join into the competitive aspect.
Yeah, although Warhammer's competitive aspect, we again can make arguments about. I feel like you can't argue like any other game does that either. Like, it's not like Pokemon or Magic tournaments are like, here's a deck, new kid. It would be like hysterical, the lopsided matchup it would have versus something remotely good enough to go sit in an F&M with.
Yeah, that's true. I was going to say, like, yeah, Magic had some, like, starter decks that they gave out, but they were jokes. I get what you're saying.
Some islands, some cancels, and a Sphinx of Joir Isle if you're super lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, like, there isn't a good way to really attract new players to this kind of thing.
The attraction, in my opinion, is seeing people play it. That's the attracting new players.
Okay.
It's up to them if they want to take the jump. But this is to get people in stores, playing, having fun with each other, you know, being a little loud, laughing, having a good time, so that someone walks over. Because, like, that's how we got into Magic at first, too, was there were people playing somewhere publicly. And I was like, hey, I remember Magic from being a kid. Walked over, watched them playing, and I was like, this is pretty neat. And then told you and the other guys about it, and we went up to Walmart and bought some intro decks. 10 years later, I wish we hadn't done that, but you know.
But, you know, yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
It was a very expensive life choice that I made on a whim.
But we got a cool podcast out of it.
Oh my god, that was 15 years ago.
That was. We're old. Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those, like, I am happy that they're doing something and, like, organized play is even remotely on their radar.
Yeah, and I don't want to see verticality in this, if that makes sense. Magic has backed off mostly.
Of, like, a grind up to GP or whatever.
Yeah. It's coming back somewhat in, like, a promo, very lightly supported style, just to say it's still there for the psychos who really need it to exist to feel complete in life.
Yeah.
But they've backed off for the most part because, to be honest, the F&M level, the Friday Night Magic, the local game store level play is the heart and soul. That needs to be active.
Yeah.
And that's all you need active in Warhammer. Warhammer is a terrible competitive game. We could get into it for hours and hours about the things that need to be fixed so that it's better for tournament play. Not today.
Yeah. No, that's not what this is for.
Get it so on Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, maybe you make a big push for it to be an official day of the week thing like Friday Night Magic is drilled into my fucking head.
Yeah.
You do it like that. You get it so that local game stores across the world do this on a certain day every week. People are posting pictures of, you know, at their local shop, people's cool armies playing against each other. That's what you need to focus on. Push hard there. Get people happy with that, and that's what you really need to succeed there. And I'd be thrilled to see that growth.
Yeah, that would be actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, and a bigger point would be, like, I'm sure some older members of the audience who are much longer standing in Warhammer than you and I, we've only been at this a couple years now.
Yeah.
The game exploded recently, but older players maybe say, well, there was equivalence to this 10 years ago. But nowadays, like 9th edition, look at the gigantic sales leaps that occurred during the COVID era of people getting into the hobby because it's a great standalone hobby, and now people are wanting to play.
Right, because they've started finishing enough of an actual army to play.
And this could be like the first big push since that major change, where even if something existed, 5-10 years ago, the game was not the size it is today. And now there's a big push for people wanting this that didn't exist back then. And I could see certain game stores that are like on the fringe of like, you guys could fit 4 nice sized tables in here.
But are we actually going to ever have 4 tables used at the same time? We could use that space for like a display for some other board games or something like that.
And that's the area where this could give that nice push in the direction that people want.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
All right. That wraps up the topic, and I think that makes for a good episode for the week. Let's end it here, nice and short and sweet. We will be back next week, where we'll probably be talking about something less specifically topical and something more generalist.
Yeah, just something that we're just going to talk.
Yeah, but let's get out of here for the week.
Sounds good. I wonder why they chose Necrons for the face of the organized playbox.